And we're back. Welcome to Grab the Remote. I'm Candler Budd.
I'm Brian Chapman.
Yes, you interrupted me there, but that's okay.
I did. Start over. Start over.
All right. You interrupted me there and you came right in, but that's okay. Oh, you want me to go further back?
Yes, even further. My apologies. I'm so sorry. That's
okay.
What happens when you're not in the same room together.
Yes, room together. Room together.
Also known as Candler and Brian talk about movies during the pandemic with their family's approval.
It's Grab the Remote, also known as GTR, as Brian Chapman likes to call it, because he loves the acronyms. Today, we're going to talk about Attack of the Clones, or should we say AOTC, as the
AOTC. Oh boy, they all have their little acronyms.
I have my coolest seen Star Wars story. We've been doing these, by the way, for those of you that are just joining us. We've gone through the various Star Wars films, and we've gone in the order of which they were released, and we've had little stories about what we were doing when we saw these films. I think my coolest story is my Attack of the Clones story. I saw it in LA at the famous Chinese Man Theater, and it was the coolest theatrical experience as far as being inside that theater. It was pretty amazing. As always, I did not dress up. Brian usually dresses up for a Star Wars film. Brian, what did you wear? What did you wear? What? I'm sorry?
I wore my best Jar Jar mask.
Nice, nice.
With a sign around my neck saying "Stop the Hate."
All kidding aside, last episode, Brian emasculated me because I admitted that I dressed up for Phantom Menace guilty charge.
I also tried to amend that by saying if someone were to wear a tuxedo and a Darth Vader mask,
which is what I wore.
To me, that's if I saw that person and I said, I bet that's Candler Budd, I would be right, because then you would take off the helmet, because that's just part of your personality. The people that know you know that that's the kind of fun you like to have. You don't care. I like that about you, that it's just I want to have fun, and that's part of your charm. So dress up by all means. My Attack of the Clones story is not that great. I did go see it at an IMAX theater, and I remember it being packed. And I had some trepidations about having to sit next to a stranger. That sounds ridiculous, of course, but the guy couldn't have been more cordial. He did everything right. He basically was me. We didn't touch the armrest between us. He didn't talk. I didn't talk. And at the end, I wanted to say, thank you, stranger, for being a phenomenal person to sit next to.
And did this guy dress up?
No, of course not.
So he was in civilian clothing.
He was a civilian just like me, no dressing up. And I think in general, who's dressing up anyway? The people who are like really big Star Wars fans, sorry, maybe let me back that up. Maybe some people are dressing up. I think more people are just going and just saying, is this going to be better than the Phantom Menace?
Yes.
Because, really, is there there's that tense piece? You've mentioned it. We didn't like the title right away, and that was like all of a sudden.
Did not like the title.
And so that's already leading me into is this what's going to happen now? Now that we've had the Phantom Menace and it was a letdown for many people, what are they going to do with Attack of the Clones?
Exactly. So Attack of the Clones starts. It takes place 10 years after where we left off. Talk about the big three. Padme now has a new Senate seat. Anakin now has a new actor playing him. Obi-Wan Kenobi now has a mullet, which I just think is luscious. What do you think about his hair in Attack of the Clones? Because I'm sure that's what you came on this podcast to talk about. His beautiful, luscious hair.
They're in the elevator, and that's the first thing I think is it's just lovely. It's a it's a Canadian waterfall. I don't know what to call it, but it was beautiful. And really that I started laughing right away. That's true. Like O2, I'm laughing because I was like, why?
Because it is O2. It's after the mullet. It's not even like now where it might be kind of cool or retro. It was like, it was at the worst possible time, I think, to have a mullet.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's that. But of course, everyone's older and I guess wiser. I like the opening shot of the ship
Yes.
coming into Coruscant.
And forgive me, you missed something. Not only that, but instead of the camera panning down, I hope I say this correctly, panning down to see a planet, we pan up, and then the planet, it's coming up from the other end. I think that's really cool
Very
and
nice.
surprising. And the crawl was cool. I was going to memorize it or read it to you, but I would be cheating. But I remember the crawl. I saw it, part of it today. My wife walked in. Oh, you're going to talk about that one tonight? And true story.
They're ready for us to be done with Star Wars.
Yes, they are. But
everyone's ready.
Yes,
They're,
the crawl is not annoying. The crawl is actually fine. I hate the title. Crawl, I don't mind. I hate the crawl in Revenge of the Sith, but we'll get to that.
So then we have we talked a lot about our friend Captain Panaka.
Yes.
And how he's been replaced unceremoniously by Captain Typho with the eye patch.
Yes.
And so his line is, I'm trying to, I'm just going to read it. We made it. I guess I was wrong. There was no danger at all.
Yes.
Boom. Right.
Yes.
There's a huge explosion, and then you're fired, Typho. I think that should have been the next step, because that was pretty asinine to say for, and then poor, the poor, whoever that was, who blew up, Candler, who actually, I don't know who blew up.
Exactly. I don't either.
She failed her, obviously. And that was now we have an attempt on Padme's life.
Senator, so sorry. No. Yeah, it was good. I thought the explosion, when I first saw it in LA, I remember thinking the explosion looked fake or weird. You know, these prequels, one thing it has going against them, it's the CGI stuff is all new.
Sure.
So it's not, it hasn't aged well. The explosion, what did you think of the explosion? Did it look weird to you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it did look weird. I mean, actually the wide shot looked pretty good. And if you stay on it long enough, you see one of the little yellow Naboo fighters get flung off of the platform, which I thought looked pretty nice.
Yes.
But it's from far away.
Yes.
So,
and for fans of the show, I think you've, ladies and gentlemen, you figured out with this video podcast that we make a lot of mistakes. I think for this episode, if I make a mistake, I'm going to quote Anakin, which is one of my favorite Anakin lines of all time. Sorry, my lady. That one. Okay. So that you might hear me say that a lot. So
we're gonna make mistakes. We're gonna gaffe a little bit, and that's totally fine.
Yes.
You know, that is, if you're gonna jump to that, that is when she says something to the effect of, "Don't look at me like that. It makes me
uncomfortable." Yes.
And he's so confident saying, "Sorry, my lady." If I were him trying to woo her, I would be so upset with myself, because you have to reset from that.
Oh,
like
yeah.
if you are actually, I mean, that's a weird line. Like you've all of a sudden become a creep, and that doesn't register with him at all. And that's part of the annoyance, I think, of the love story, is that he's been told, "Don't look at me that way." That's a terrible way to start a courtship.
And
period. I've never dated anyone who, like, no one's going to say that and actually get anywhere.
Right. Exactly. It's worse than being in the friend zone, I think, which I've been in the friend zone a lot.
Holding purses in malls.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
Exactly.
Are you saying that waiting, biding your time to make them think finally that you're the one?
Yes.
You're still holding a purse inside of a mall.
But I got 2 words for you. If you've seen my wife, it all worked out in the end.
It all works out in the end.
Definitely worked out in the end. Whew. Absolutely. Good for me. Where was I going with this? Sorry, my lady. I lost my train of thought.
So we have, obviously, Amidala is incensed that she is, someone tried to assassinate her, so she wants to get some help. And that's where Palpatine comes in.
Yes.
As the puppet master, which that to me is part of the some of the thing that annoys me, is that is he pulling all these strings to get them together, to get Anakin and Padme together? What is it for him behind the scenes that actually makes that suggestion? Because that suggestion is the reason that Luke and Leia are with us.
True.
Them getting together. So I don't like that. I wish that there would have been another reason for them to actually get together, not a pulling of the strings, because that's what it is. He suggests them, and they've just come back from a border dispute on something, and away we go.
And we talked about this for the Phantom Menace. It was incredibly annoying to us that you have Palpatine and then you have Darth Sidious when it's obviously they're the same person. And then, correct me if I'm wrong, you don't see Darth Sidious until the end of Attack of the Clones. In fact, I know that's to be true.
I believe so. Yeah, because you go to his lair, like a castle in the industrial region of Coruscant.
Definitely.
Dooku goes there.
And here's a question. So it's the last time Padme has seen Anakin. My, how you've grown. So is it the last time she's seen Obi-Wan? I would assume so.
I think so.
Palpatine's talking about an old friend like Master Kenobi. I mean, are they old friends? They were kind of on a mission together like 10 years. I hate that line.
They're not friends at all. I think they speak a few lines after they talk to the Gungans. There's nothing there. And that's, again, that's a part of, there's no connection. There's nothing between them. Until they get to, I guess, Geonosis.
Yes.
And they are fighting together on Geonosis. Everything will be, if you can do it in Count Dooku's voice, in Christopher Lee's voice, then
Geonosis.
Right?
It cracks me up that they got Christopher Lee is he most famous for being Count Dracula, you think?
I would say so. The Hammer films. I mean, and again, Sauron.
That's
Lord
true.
Of the Rings, right?
But this was before. Yeah, this was before Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, he got both of those kind of in the same time frame, which is great. I mean, he's phenomenal. I can't say enough about him as an actor. He did a humongous body of work. Not all great, but he's also a war hero. And
that's right.
And so, Christopher Lee was a real get. I think is one of the questions. What do you like about Attack of the Clones?
It's Christopher Lee.
Yeah, Christopher Lee. They're being Count Dooku, as George Lucas calls him.
I feel like he was underused in the trilogy. I love the fact that I remember reading about Attack of the Clones and hearing that he was called Darth Tyrannus, and I just thought that was and at the end of Attack of the Clones, Palpatine says, "Well done" or "Welcome home, Lord Tyrannus."
Lord Tyrannus.
And then we never hear it again. I think that's the only time we hear it.
Sure, that's it.
Darth Tyrannus is so much cooler than Count Dooku. Again, it's funny to me that he's famous for Dracula, and then
he's a count.
He's a count, exactly. But hate the name. And I remember hearing this. Tell me if you've heard this. That Christopher Lee, the late great Christopher Lee, held a record for like being in the most films, like something like over a astronomical amount of films. Have you ever heard that?
That may be correct, but I won't say yay or nay. Excuse me.
Well, was that a burp?
Yeah, that was like hey, we're drinking coffee. It's so late, right?
Yes.
So
by
late.
the way, what episode is this? Let's see. We did.
Nobody knows. This is 12 of 72, right?
No,
we're doing.
No, but my point is, we're a few episodes in, and this is the first time we've mentioned bodily functions. I think that's
right.
I think usually I'm.
That is good. Well, we keep it running no matter what. Later on, I'm not going to say, Candler, do you remember when I had that slight belch? Can you please edit that? Don't humiliate me.
Exactly.
with some little belch.
Foolishness.
I drank coffee. I can't.
Yes.
So another thing, if we're going to move forward with likes, if we can kind of talk about that.
Yeah.
I actually like Jango Fett.
That was going to be one of my questions to you.
Good. Tamora Morrison. He's
great
phenomenal.
actor.
I just like the fact that, again, we're seeing it with Mandalorian, but they are making an effort to show what Mandalorians can do. So he's using his backpack. The scene on the platform on the Rain Colony. We'll come to that name. Will manifest itself in a few minutes. But I like the Obi-Wan versus Jango on the.
So did I. That's
a good little fight scene. So yeah, that to me, that I liked all that. The Slave One was doing cool things. Heck, the seismic charges when they're flying through the asteroid field, the sound.
That was one of my favorites as well.
So
absolutely.
That sound, especially like IMAX, even in 02, right? Like they've done some beautiful things with sound, but that on the big screen and that silence before it was pretty awesome.
All right. First of all, Attack of the Clones, I think, is the worst of the prequel trilogy. Do you agree or not agree?
No, I don't.
What do you
So
think
you
is the
think
worst? What do you think is the worst of the prequel trilogy?
Phantom Menace?
I feel Attack is worse because I feel like Phantom has more enjoyable components.
Well, I guess I can say why is Attack better? Why is Attack of the Clones better? I guess because
Fair
of
enough.
right the things that have already been mentioned, which is Dooku and Django. And I guess, if we're going to talk about it, I mean, the CGI is so heavy, but he's putting together some planetscapes. Coruscant is a pretty lofty design prospect. So yeah, I mean, I'll have to, as we go through it, maybe some of the answers will come to me at
I've
this
got it.
point. Yeah. Go
I've
ahead.
got it. I know why Attack of the Clones is worse. And I can say it in one word: cringe. I don't think I ever heard cringe until Hayden Christensen came along. With all due
Everything,
respect,
everything with the love story. Everything with the love story is a
yes,
total embarrassment.
there
Right?
is more cringe in Attack of the Clones than there is in the Phantom Menace. That's why I think it's worse.
Isn't it nice that you can, if you actually want to watch Attack of the Clones again, you can kind of fast forward. You can go through those. That makes it really, really bad. I completely, I'm with you with that, 100%. They're riding in a gondola, for Pete's sake. Like, they go to Naboo, and it's like this. It's like a yellow. I wanted to see them riding. I mean, I would have. There's no way they're going to have them riding in like a space gondola on the water. But do you remember that they get out on the gondola, and of course, everything that Padme wears in every scene, like she has, like, I'm exaggerating, there's like 10 costume changes. It's all nightgown evening wear, like there's nothing that says I'm in hiding. It's more so like, we're all going out on our prom date. I mean, she's in like 12 prom outfits.
Sure.
All
more
that
toys.
is just silliness. I mean, that
It
to
is.
me is, and I feel bad for them that they're having to walk through that. There's a point where they're walking and you hear, like, I don't even know what the instrument is. You know, the instrument that's just like, it's like these long dangling things, and someone would come along and go, pring, like goes
Not a harp, no.
It's like some magical noise that John Williams wanted to make to create the atmosphere of love.
John Williams hit it out of the ballpark again.
Yeah, great score.
It's wonderful,
Always.
wonderful. A continuing theme with me in Star Wars, especially after the original trilogy, after the original trilogy, is me just getting excited about something and getting knocked down. I've never, ever looked forward to a love story. Oh, I can't wait to see this love story. I was looking forward to this love story. And boy,
no.
Yes. So, be careful what you wish for.
I will say this: if I'm kind of going back in time, you're talking about what we like. Django, has his moments. There's also some lame things that go along with that. I mean, he hired another bounty hunter, to kill Padme with those poisonous worms, and then when it didn't work out, she's the shapeshifter, Zam Weasel. He shoots her with what we find out is a Camino saber dart. I don't know why on earth. Why wouldn't he kill either Obi-Wan or Anakin? They're like they're leaning over her, and he comes right in between her.
Yeah,
a perfect shot in the neck. That's the one thing. Like, she was a shapeshifter for no reason at all, too. Like, she died, and like her face shifted.
And Obi-Wan is like the worst detective in the universe, but yet he keeps getting lucky. Like, he sees Django shoot the dart. He walks in on Tirana's Count Dooku, explaining everything.
He's leaning over the edge.
Yes, our friends with the Trade Federation have pled their support.
Those are some characters at that meeting, by the way.
Oh yes, the Techno Union Army.
Wat Tambor.
Yeah,
and
the banking clan will sign your treaty. He was really skinny. My brother Wesley, who you'll see on a future episode, he said, "We've run out of aliens. It's like we've run out of designs. We'll just make a skinny alien." What scene was worse, in your opinion, and why? The diner scene or the library scene?
So this is I think you're doing an ageism question. You're talking about grandmas and grandpas here. So you have Grandma Jedi, right?
Yes.
And then you have Obi-Wan. You have by the way,
hello, Dex.
Hi, hello, Dex. I'll say I don't mind Dexter Jetster, the alien with the mustache. You can't unsee that. He has a big alien mustache. I don't know why he is adept at naming darts and the other things. I would like to know these little details of why on earth he knows. I mean, I just want these little connections. Can there be one or two lines? He goes into the diner, gets some Jawa juice grown. The diner scene is worse, I
It
will
is
say.
diner. Nothing can take me out of Star Wars than a diner scene. I
I
mean,
want if anything, Grandma Jedi. I just want to see her in action. If Yoda can get in and go, do some lightsaber battles. I want to see what what Nanny Knight can do.
yes.
Like
If a planet is not in our records, it does not
yeah.
exist.
I
Yes.
hate to say it. She's
Yes.
very condescending to poor Obi-Wan.
But she did call him Master. What can I do
Right.
for you, Master Kenobi? Cypher Diaz. Who the heck is Cypher Diaz? How would his story play out if it had been shown in episode 1? Cypher
Question.
Diaz is this character that's referred to. He's a Jedi, which I'm still not sure actually happened. Obi-Wan goes to Camino, and they're expecting Cypher Diaz. He said, I'm not Cypher Diaz. Cypher Diaz put together this clone army 10 years ago and then never came back. What is your opinion on Cypher Diaz?
Well, of course, they've written books to explain away
I
everything.
know.
And so for me, it's like this. I think that someone, probably Dooku, impersonated Sifo Dyas and then had him executed, and like the death was ruled something else, right? Like, so he was killed, maybe mysterious circumstances. And so now you just have a name floating out there for all time. I think the Kaminoans are pretty trusting of Obi-Wan. It's almost like there's no vetting process at all.
Sure.
Some dude comes in brown robe and it's let's roll out the red carpet for him to see all what's going on. And to me, that is a crucial point. And I will say it like this: the way to I'm going to say the way to remedy this is you take someone from the past and you actually make them more interesting. Count Dooku's apprentice was Qui-Gon Jinn.
Mm-hmm.
If we could have actually Qui-Gon Jinn be the name instead of Sifo Dyas, that's exciting, because that actually makes Qui-Gon in league with Dooku, which I'm totally fine with, and it works because, like I've said before, we don't know anything about him anyway.
Yes,
he's an empty Jedi robe. Let's just say, for instance, that we had Phantom Menace as it was, and we put Qui-Gon's name in there. That to me works as well, and
definitely.
It actually is to me more fun because you have.
Can we do a fan edit where we just whisper over Qui-Gon Jinn whenever it comes to Sifo Dyas's name? That'd be fun. Do you think the Jedi powers in the prequels defy all logic and make their story less interesting? Would the story be better served if their powers were just a little more grounded in reality?
Yeah. There's a lot of, especially with the acrobatics and those types of things. And obviously, they expanded some things in Phantom Menace with like the run we talked about, the big fast run, and a few of those things. That takes me out of it. And then, of course, what we have is they have all this animation that has come out, and we can talk a little bit about the Genndy Tartakovsky Clone Wars, and obviously the Clone Wars that's still actually happening. But they are really pushing the boundaries. So, like, for me, it doesn't work as well. I mean, for me, the weirdest thing that happened in Revenge of the Sith was when, at the very first,
I know what you're going to say.
Anakin versus Obi-Wan, and Dooku pushes down the big girder, the humongous metal thing that should actually cut Obi-Wan's legs off, but it just kind of moves him over. That kind of cartoon stuff is
the
awful.
Elevator stuff. When they're
all that stuff so bad. I mean, I liked Empire. We can always go back to the trilogy because we love it. But like Luke was completely beat up, brutalized, and it made us like him a lot more, I think, as a character. I mean, because you put him through the ringer, and it just made it so much better. So,
and seeing Luke, our hero, in Empire, so this is the second chapter, even though it's episode 5, we're seeing him use the Force where he's just pulling the lightsaber, 5 feet or something, and they use those powers more sparingly, and I think to more effect, in my opinion. As a kid, What was your idea of the Clone Wars when you heard it mentioned by Leia? How should it have been presented? Because I didn't realize, I heard Clone Wars. I didn't know what a clone was. It was later in the 90s when clones were in the news, the sheep and all that. Did you
Dolly.
think? Yeah, Dolly the sheep, exactly. How do you think that should have been presented? Thoughts on the actual clones and the Clone Wars?
I never gave it much thought, but it more so resonated with me where when Alec Guinness as Obi-Wan talked about it in his hut. So that is, I mean, there's two places there. You fought in the Clone Wars? Yes. Right. So Luke says it.
Yes.
So,
But Leia had just said it on the projection. You showed my
completely.
father in the Clone Wars. I was
Right.
like,
Right. So,
Clone Wars. That sounds so cool. I didn't know what it meant. It sounded cool.
so basically it meant nothing to me during that time period, only that when you have somebody like I've said this before, but Alec Guinness just sells everything so well. So whatever he says,
he could read the phone book.
right. You believe it. And so that's just another layer for them to expand on it is, I mean, that's fine. I don't take away the choice of Lucas to actually build a clone army. And that's what it is that turns into, what the Empire uses to start out with. I guess that's part of it, needing to build an army.
Yes. I think another flaw, and I'm certainly not the first to say this, but the idea you have a clone army versus a droid army. So you're seeing all these sort of expendable little creatures that you don't, there's no loss there. I don't know if I'm explaining myself right.
The gore down, right? That's that. There's a low body count when you have. I mean, if we're making these PG-13.
True.
PG-13. I know Sith was PG-13.
Sith was 13.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean that to me is just a way to have it to where the lightsabers can do things and not give everybody therapy or all the kids. You have to be. Let's not desensitize them too early, right?
Exactly. That's true. That is a good point. See, my mind can be changed. My next question was on Boba and Jango Fett. I enjoyed them. We've kind of already talked about that, and Mr. Morrison. Here's a question. What's less funny, Jar Jar in Gungan City or 3PO in the Droid Factory / Coliseum?
He was throwing out some lines, like left and right, line after line after line. 3PO after line.
I'm like, 3PO just lost his head. That is not funny to me. I hated it.
He says something like, "I'm scrap," right? That's one line.
Yeah.
Oh, he actually says, "I'm beside myself" when R2 puts his head next to him. There's some bad. All of that looks. I mean, that to me was a video game anyway. So you have Padme and Anakin going through the big droid factory, right? So that is just I hated all of that, and then for that huge robot droid to pick up C-3PO and put him in the lineup is so ridiculous.
Oh, just I hated it.
Let's give Jar Jar a break, right?
Exactly. By the way, his line in Sith is "Excuse me." That's his line. You can't even tell that it's him saying it. You could recognize the voice. He has one line in Revenge of the Sith. Next question. Would you have had Yoda in a lightsaber battle? Some fans have said, Yoda shouldn't be in a lightsaber battle.
Some people really love that too. They love it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that really they swear by that battle.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was not one of the ones in the theater who's ripping out seats. There were some people going crazy in my theater over that because it's like you want to see that. I just don't see how he's decrepit. He's already decrepit.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, it happened. I don't know what to think of it. Him jumping around going, is that the first time there's been no Yoda? We've all done a few little lines like, oh yes. We all have a Yoda, right?
Oh yes.
All it is it's a different version of Grover, right? If Grover goes down an octave.
Oh, definitely. Love him. What is your favorite bad line? Because there's quite a list in Attack of the Clones. Favorite bad line in Attack of the Clones.
Can you give me a moment while what is yours? Like you have.
My thing with bad lines are lines that don't need to be said. Like there was no reason for example, in Revenge of the Sith is, Anakin, you're breaking my heart. From my point of view, the Jedi are evil. I hate those two lines. Like, why are those lines even said? But this is mine. It's delivered by the great Christopher Lee. It is obvious that this contest cannot be decided by our knowledge of the Force, but by our skills with a lightsaber.
Very good.
I love it. But I hate it at the same time.
How about this is Obi-Wan. Why do I get the feeling that you're going to be the death
of me? Yes. There's some fun stuff in that scene, the bar scene. I like the death sticks bit. I thought that was fun.
That little guy was in the Matrix.
That's right, he was. That's right.
Matrix 2.
And you
Matrix
have
2, Electric Boogaloo.
Yeah, you have the Jar Jar actor and the C-3PO, Ahmad Best, and Anthony Daniels making random cameos.
Yeah,
it's not even subtle. It's like, they look like that.
Yeah, Lucas's daughter was in it as a Twi'lek too. So there was some, they had fun.
Yeah.
That's to me fun. You have like robot football. You see all these monitors on the wall that show all the sporting events.
Yeah.
Yes. So yeah, I tell you what, the Christopher Lee stuff is just one of my favorite scenes is when Obi-Wan has been captured on Geonosis and he's hanging in the air. And
this is madness. What is it?
Dooku comes in and they have this little back and forth, and he really just spills the beans to Obi-Wan. He says that the Republic is being run by a Sith Lord. He tells everything, and that to me is kind of strange. But I think it's the same rule of two. Dooku wants maybe to get Obi-Wan on his side, possibly. That's part of it. Obi-Wan refuses, and then Dooku says something to the effect of, "It may be difficult to secure your release,"
as he walks out.
And then he leaves.
When does he say brave but foolish? Was that with Samuel Jackson? I think so, in the Coliseum.
Possibly, yes. Mace Windu with the purple lightsaber.
This body's over. Fun.
We haven't talked about Darth Maul much, but I think many big fans think that Darth Maul should not have been bisected. And I mean, once Maul is gone, then you kind of have to bring in all these other people. And maybe that's by design, but what a cool character. And I guess that's why they keep bringing him back, the poor thing. And he was in, they in the animated series of the Clone Wars, he comes back and he's got like robot spider legs. And then, of course, you see Solo, and that's just a spoiler alert, right?
Yeah.
Horrible.
Yeah, horrible. Yeah, I think that's pretty well agreed upon. I mean, why kill off Darth Maul? Next question. Samuel L. Jackson. I think he's awesome. I think he's an amazing actor. I just love him as a personality. He's great in interviews. There's something that's not Jedi about him to me. If you were going to put him somewhere else in the prequel trilogy, where would you put him?
Just as anything? Oh, gosh. You got me. I mean,
you didn't look at these questions, did you?
I glanced. See, I like to shoot from the hip. Glancing. So having him.
Do you agree with me? What do you think of him as a Jedi? His portrayal as Mace Windu.
I don't know. I don't know if to me, it seems to like, I think that the Alec Guinness model is so nice because you actually see. I don't know how much of work they did with backstory and kind of where he was. He's always good, right? I mean, that guy works, man. That guy's always working, and he's always brings something interesting. So
I feel
putting him somewhere else, I'm not sure exactly.
If I didn't hear him in interviews, I would almost think he was phoning it in. Like you see Jennifer Lawrence in some of these X-Men films. I'm like, she is phoning it in. She just signed a contract. She's just phoning it in. I kind of feel that way a little bit about him, but yet I've heard him in interviews and he loves Star Wars. He enjoyed doing it. It was a blast for him. So I just think he just made some choices or Lucas gave him choices that, I didn't particularly agree with.
Yeah. But, there's a lot of moving parts in these too.
Sure.
There's a lot going on. It's not as, and to me, it's a little just broader scope of characters doing all kinds of different things.
And here's the thing. We're going to keep saying this, and I'm going to continue to say this. Filmmaking is hard. I have one job, and that's to get this one shot right, and it never looks right. I look ridiculous. So, I mean, making films, I think we can agree, is hard.
Yeah.
Sorry, my lady.
And we love it too. That's the one thing. I think we go into it. I think a lot of people go into it now, like hoping that you kind of see that in all aspects. And it's really a weird phenomenon where, especially with the new trilogy, like people, kind of got divided, and then they're almost like hoping the movies are bad. I never wanted any of these movies to be bad. I'm hoping they're good and fun. And I think also you have this new generation. There's a lot to be said for the fact that we saw the original trilogy as kids, and then you grow up and you're an adult and you're watching them. Does that change anything for us? And what does it look like for a 10-year-old that goes into it? I'll never, there's some kids who love it, and that's,
yeah.
And I don't want anybody to feel bad about that. It's just like you have, and there's people who love the new stuff too. So it's one thing about Star Wars. It's always fun to have a dialogue about it because everybody has their different opinions about what what they liked and didn't like. The prophecy.
Per usual, I can't tell how long we've been doing this.
Oh gosh, 40 something minutes. We're kind of getting to the point.
All right.
So the time flies, doesn't it?
Yes, because we're having so much fun. We had talked about going into Revenge of the Sith. Should we wait for another time?
Might as another time, another place. Might as well. I mean, in general, I think these will be, for Star Wars fans, maybe they'll like them, but we'll have to see what happens. Either way, it's been fun to extrapolate a little bit and see some. Thanks for putting the questions out there too. Like that's very helpful. So I hope that not only I hope you're able to answer them too. Like I want you to be able to really get your points across.
And you've changed my mind on a few things, which
really,
which I like. Yeah. I mean, I will never, ever dress up for a Star Wars film again.
Please do.
Please do.
Here, let me tell you, this is a great, here's a story for you real quick. Just kind of about that kind of stuff. You had talked about the kid that kind of messed with you guys
he was Ryan Johnson, by the way. I'm convinced.
Okay. I'm sure he was. So what was your date was probably Leia and your brother was
old school Leia. Exactly.
And what was your brother?
He was the Palpatine, Emperor Palpatine,
okay.
but Jedi, Return of the Jedi Palpatine.
Oh, fun.
Yeah.
Good.
So
I can listen. There's been times where I've been in the toy aisle, right? Just kind of looking at toys, right? Because I've done that before. This is many years ago, kind of looking at Star Wars stuff. And all of a sudden there's like these kids running around me, and one of the kids stops, and I don't know how old enough to know that there was an adult in the toy section. They look up at me and go, and the kid just says, "What are you doing here?"
I'm a father. I'm getting stuff for my kids. Leave me alone.
Yeah.
We've got some great episodes, Brian, coming up, as you know. Our next episode, we're going to take a break from Star Wars, and we're going to talk about comic book movies with my good friend Daniel Chun. He's got a great list. We've got a great list. And then coming up after that, we've got Wesley Budd. We'll discuss war movies. It's going to be great. Then we'll have Back to the Future with the two of us, and then we'll come back to Star Wars at some point.
And then maybe we'll delve into horror movies.
Yes.
And also guilty pleasure movies, possibly.
Let me just say that you are my guilty pleasure.
It's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. Yes. Well, I'm Candler Budd.
Brian Chapman.
And we'll see you next time. Oh, yeah.